All I ask of you is that you solve a murder.
Whose?
Mine.
Altered Carbon is the brand new Netflix original show based on the Richard K. Morgan novel of the same name and created by Leita Kalogridis. The first season of Altered Carbon focuses on the concept of stacks, which is a storage device that allows humans to upload their memories and consciousness into a device that can be reverse engineered and surgically implanted into the back of everybody's neck from the age of 1. This in turn allows people to live for hundreds of years, and if you're wealthy enough, to become almost immortal and godlike. This creates a massive divide between the rich and the poor of the future, where the rich are able to live for hundreds and hundreds of years and essentially have more power than even the police force themselves, while the poor argue against this and argue that mankind should only be allowed to live once, and that the rich, or as they're known in this world, meths, should deserve to be on the same level as them. The show primarily focuses on the main character of Takeshi Kovacs, played by Joel Kinnaman, who is a former mercenary who wakes up 250 years after his previous sleeve was terminated after he went rogue as an agent. He's given the choice to either spend the rest of his life in prison for his crimes or to solve the murder of Lawrence Bancroft, one of the wealthiest and well-known meths in the world. So Kovacs has to try and discover who killed Lawrence Bancroft, as well as trying to get used to the world around him that has advanced while he has been away in sleep. I don't want to say any more about this show because I want people to go in knowing as little as possible, because I knew very little about Altered Carbon when I went in to watch it. In fact, I didn't start watching the show until about almost 2 weeks after it came onto Netflix, because I'd seen no advertisement for it at all. I only knew about the show because a good friend of mine on YouTube, Declan McKinney, told me about this show, so I decided to go ahead and watch it. And I was a bit skeptical going in because even though it is a sci-fi show and I love sci-fi, the creator, Leita Kalogridis, I was a bit worried based on her previous track record, because even though she has been in some great stuff such as Shutter Island, which I think is one of Martin Scorsese's most underrated films, she's also had quite a few duds. I mean, you look at her past track record, she's done stuff like White House Down, which I wasn't particularly a fan of, and or Avatar, which again wasn't a fan of, and of course Terminator Genesis, which I think we can all just forget about because that was a bad film. So I was a bit skeptical based on her past track record, but after watching these 10 episodes and having time to think about it, this show is amazing. All my worries completely gone. This is a great show. So in terms of the story itself and the main mystery of the murder of Lawrence Bancroft, I really enjoyed it. I really thought that the murder mystery was very well played out. I thought it was very cool how they did it, how they managed to link in so many suspects, and how their motives seemed very, very good. And I genuinely did not have a clue at times who could have done it, and just how it plays out in itself was really good. And what I liked was how the show wasn't afraid to have episodes that didn't even focus on the mystery itself. It would have quite a few episodes where the case in itself is not even brought up. It's almost an episode that strays away from it, but at the same time is still meaningful because it helps give a lot more to these characters. But the mystery in itself was very good, and I really did like the resolution that it gave. I thought it was a very, very good wrap-up to it, and I thought it was very good. I mean, compared to murder mysteries that we tend to get on television these days that I just don't think are that great, this one, for once, actually told a really good one that I was actually invested in. So let's talk about the characters in this show. And we've got to start off, of course, with the main character of Takeshi Kovacs, who's played by Joel Kinnaman. Now, Joel Kinnaman is an actor who I think is very good. I mean, I've seen him on The Killing and he's great, but Suicide Squad and RoboCop for me were not particularly great films, and I feel like the reason he wasn't too good in those films was mainly due to the writing, and I think that's even more evident here, because here the writing is a lot better, and Joel Kinnaman is really good. I was very impressed by him. I thought he did a really good job with the material he was given. He was very convincing in the action scenes. From what I could tell, it was him mostly doing his own stunts, which I thought was really, really cool. And, you know, he's tried to portray himself, Joel Kinnaman, in these past few years as kind of like this action star. And I feel like with Suicide Squad and RoboCop, they were just massive duds. I feel like this is the, first thumbs up that he's gotten in terms of him trying to move himself into this action genre, because here he's really good, and I just like the fact that he felt like this very torn person, because in his previous sleeve he was actually an Asian man, but now he's woken up in this white man's body, so it kind of feels like he's a bit of a fish out of water character, and you really see that with Kinnaman. I think he did a really good job, and I thought he was very, very good in that main role. Definitely a fitting leading man. We've also got other characters as well. You've got Lawrence Bancroft as well, of course, who is the person that Kovacs is trying to solve the murder of. He's played by James Pufoy, who of course I know off The Following as the main villain of that show, Joe Carroll. I thought he was great in this show as well, even though his character is very unlikable, and they do it on purpose. You still sense that bit of humanity in his character, and I feel like that's really good because you need that sense of attachment to the main character, because otherwise, if the character who we're trying to solve the murder of is a complete dick and there's nothing redeemable about him whatsoever, you kind of lose interest in that, and he's an interesting enough of a character that I want to find out who was responsible for his death, because he's simply that interesting a character, and I thought he was really good. Kristen Ortega as well, who's one of the main police officers, who's played by Martha Higuereda. I believe that's how you say her last name. She was really good as well. She's probably one of my favourite characters on the show. I thought she was really good. I'd never heard of the actress beforehand. I'd never seen her in anything else, but she was really good in this, especially some of the things that happened to her character throughout the season, which I won't spoil, obviously, but I was really impressed by her, and her character was really, really good. My favourite character on the show, though, it's got to be Chris Connor as Edgar Poe, who is this AI who is the manager of the hotel that Kovacs stays at while he's solving the Bancroft murder case. He was by far my favourite character on the show. He was so good, and he's essentially the comedic character of this show, but his lines and his mannerisms and his character is just so funny. He's really, really good, and he's easily the standout. I've seen a lot of people say that he's easily their favourite character, and it's the same with me. I loved him. I just liked how he added this little bit of a difference to the show, all these human characters, and then you have this AI character who's trying his best to integrate with these people, but of course, he's an AI. He's technically not real. He can't touch things for real and stuff like that, but I just found him really interesting and engrossing, and there's a story that he has with a certain other character that spans throughout the whole season, which I thought was really good as well in terms of giving him a storyline, and just he had some of the best moments in the show. He was really good. I very much enjoyed him as a character. Let's talk about the visual design of this show. It is brilliant. I would love to see the budget that this show had, because some of the special effects and cinematography is so good. It's really impressive for a TV show as well. It's just incredible. The mix of CGI with these actual practical things, like just the design of the streets of America in the future, very Blade Runner-esque, but I'm just so impressed with how they did it on this, with this budget, and the fact that it's in a TV show. It's so well done, and it really did capture this style of a neo-noir tech futuristic setting really well, and I was just very, very impressed by it. The score by Jeff Russo, I thought it was really good, and the use of licensed music in the show is really good. There's one scene in particular at the end, or near the end of episode 4 of the season, which I won't spoil, obviously, but there is a piece of licensed music that's used over a sequence, and it is awesome. It's one of my favourite uses of licensed music in a show ever. It's just so cool. Like, I've now got the song on Spotify, and I cannot stop listening to it. It is so good, and just the way that it's weaved into the show, but also the music that they choose as well was just really cool, and I liked how it added to the sense of grittiness with this show, and just how it really encapsulated and went with the setting that the show goes for. Now, in terms of negatives that I had with the show, I had very few. I really don't have any that detracted from my overall experience from watching it. I just can't think of any problems that made me say, oh yeah, that takes away from my score of the show. It didn't really happen. There are two nitpick problems that I have, one of which is simply that I wished that some of the concepts of being re-sleeved and having stacks and things like that were explored more. And what I mean by that is the consequences of it. For example, in the premiere, there is a scene where a little girl is put into the body of like a 60-year-old woman. This isn't a spoiler, this is within the first 10 minutes and it's never brought up again, but that concept in alone is amazing, but I wished that kind of thing was explored a little bit more within the show. I wished it was just a bigger part of it. It is sometimes brought up again, at a few moments, but to be honest, I just wished it was in there a little bit more, because I really did enjoy those themes and those concepts, and hopefully maybe they can do that in a second season, but I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of that in this first season, considering they did constantly hint at it. And then the other nitpick I had with the season is a spoiler, and I do have to kind of tread over this because I don't want to spoil it for you guys, because like I said, this is a spoiler-free review. There will be no spoilers in this review at all. But what I will say is that it is down to a character's motivations. There is a character who is revealed later on in the show, and some of their motivations for their actions, for me, felt a bit muddled at times, and I feel like that was mainly down to the dialogue given to the character. It was a bit confusing at times. Some of the motivations just didn't make sense to me, or I just sat back and said, no, that would never happen, that's just dumb. But other times, it kind of did make sense, but it just felt a little bit muddled to me. It just felt mixed in terms of what their real motifs actually were. That's my best way of describing it without spoiling it for you guys. But other than those two nitpicks, I loved Altered Carbon. It is really good. I really enjoyed this show. It is going to take some beating, in my opinion, to, you know, be the best show of 2018. The only real competition I can see coming up against it this year, considering what's coming out, is probably either Jessica Jones or Westworld Season 2, because I loved Altered Carbon. It's not been confirmed yet for a second season, but please guys, if you have not seen Altered Carbon and you love sci-fi, you just want a new TV show to watch, please go and support this show. It is so great. It deserves a second season. I want to see all of the rest of the novels that it's based on get adapted into the show with future seasons, because it just looks really, really cool. And so for that reason, and I'm fully confident in saying this, I'm going to give Altered Carbon a 10 out of 10. I really did enjoy it. Like I said, I couldn't think of any flaws that mainly detracted from my experience. Other than those two very minor nitpicks, I really enjoyed the show and I thought it was really good. Just go and support it because it deserves it. I would say it's worth getting Netflix alone just for this show because it's that damn good. I will definitely be rewatching it, and I'm very interested to see where they will go with this second season based on how the first season ends off and where all the characters are. So that is it for my review of Altered Carbon Season 1. Please go ahead and let me know in the comment section down below if you have seen Altered Carbon Season 1, and let me know what you thought of it. And with that being said, I want to thank you all very much for watching the video. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you are new, and give the video a like if you enjoyed what you saw, and I hope to see you again next time.